Okay. Are we there now?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Good. We've got the public advocate, Mr. Jumaane Williams, the only Caribbean American citywide elected. Good night, sir. How you doing?
I'm okay, Mr. Levy. How are you? How's Caribbean Fever going?
Caribbean fever is doing good. You know, we just had an 88-year-old woman who caught the virus, was admitted to a hospital. The first hospital that she was admitted to was overbooked. And then the doctor made the call for her to go to another hospital. She was taken care of, and she's home now recovering.
Oh, praise God on this Easter Sunday. That's what's up. I'm glad to hear that. That's a beautiful story. We need more of those.
So how are you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. You know, I'm home most of the time like everybody else, or everybody else should be. I'm highly aggravated at the leadership, city, state, and federal level at the response of all this. But, you know, we're just trying to push them to do better and try to make sure folks are following instructions. You know, for a while, black folks, they thought they couldn't get this. And so a lot of people outside when they shouldn't be.
That's what I want to talk to you about. In the beginning, you heard black people can't get it. In the beginning, you heard young people can't get it. In the beginning, you heard this and that and that. And now the people, the brown and black people are dying out more than everybody else. You got maybe 25, 30% of the population that we are. But then when it comes to this scenario, 70% of us are dying.
Yeah, it's a problem. And it's a failure on all the levels. Like, we know who Donald Trump is, so I didn't expect much from him. But, you know, the governor and the mayor purport themselves to be different. But unfortunately, when it came to really making bold, concise policies and shutting down this city early on and making it clear, they didn't do that. And this is a result of their inaction. I want to be clear about that. And particularly the governor. He did some great press conferences, but in between those press conferences, he just wasn't acting right. They did a good job in pressing the federal government to get resources, but the things that were under our control, we just didn't do it. And matter of fact, we made it worse. 75%.
How did they make it worse?
75% of the people that we call essential workers are black and brown people. Mm-hmm. So we told all them people, you should go to work. You're expendable for the rest of the city. Didn't give them any personal protective equipment, just sent them out there. Mm-hmm. And we were screaming at, look, you have to shut the city down. You can't have people out there doing construction work, going to the liquor store, like shut down the city. They refused to listen. And now they want to pretend like, oh, we don't understand what happened. Well, we know what happened. There were health inequities and other inequities in these communities for years. Some of these very leaders helped make worse. And they came into it with no plan of how to address vulnerable population, and they took too long to act. There's studies showing that if they had acted 4 days before, we could have cut this thing in half by 50, 80%. But, you know, we can't look back. We have to look forward. Mm-hmm. And so what we're trying to do now is just to hold these folks accountable so they make better decisions moving forward.
I've got a question for you. And everybody in the world wants an answer to this question. How did a liquor store become an essential?
You know, there was I don't know. Maybe some of these folks have better lobbyists than other people. The construction industry definitely can put more money in people's pockets. But I think that there was a school of thought that the liquor store, if you happen to be an alcoholic, you know, that might be a place that you need to go. But to be honest, what should have happened?
No.
And this is the thing. This is what's crazy, right? The governor is a great bureaucrat, but he's not a bold visionary leader. And sometimes it's hard to see why that makes a difference. But I hope people are seeing it right now. What you need is bold leadership, not someone that's just a great bureaucrat to make these decisions.
So what you're saying is that when we look at the governor on television and he's talking all this stuff, you're saying that the talk is cheap, that after the cameras go off is what you do behind the scenes to make the thing happen.
Absolutely. Now, dude, that calm presentation is needed. I don't want to, undercut that. Mm-hmm. But what's also needed is good policy. The man spent 3 days saying that he didn't want to call this shelter in place because he didn't want to scare people. So he spent 2-3 days trying to rename it to pause. Mm-hmm. And we had muddled messages at best. By the way, people don't know he just passed a budget where he is trying to cut Medicaid, the same Medicaid that most of these black and brown folks are going to need to get better if they, perchance, get this virus. Mm. He, against the advice of all the left side and the right, the conservatives were saying, please, we want you to do the bail reform. I disagree with them, but just don't do it now because it's going to put more people in jail at a time where we need to get more people out because it's a petri dish. He did it anyway. The mayor is right now trying to take away every single youth job for the summer. He's trying to remove 75,000 young people from having jobs this summer. People need to pay attention to what's happening.
Let's speaking about young people, let's talk a little bit about the prisons. I worry. Just last week I had a few calls. Guys called me and said, "Hey man, we're listening to you, Dahved. We got a multiplicity of people listening to us from all around the world, all ages, all sizes, all groups, all ethnicities, all religions." And they said, I wonder, this 6 foot thing that we have, we got to be 6 foot apart. We got to wash our hands. We got to do this. What happens to these prisoners who are packed up on top of each other? And not only that, but the people who work there, who then have to leave and come home to their families.
Well, you can't. And so we've been trying and pressing them to take care of the most vulnerable population. The governor said, quite frankly, we don't have time for that right now. There was a person who was housing Rikers who died a few days ago. He was arrested. He was arrested for technical parole violation. I need people to understand what that is. That is, you came late to your parole officer. You forgot to check into your parole officer. It has nothing to do with violence. New York State arrests people that twice the rate for technical parole violations than the rest of the year, than the rest of the country. But that man is now dead. But we've been pushing them to release the people, at least who are on technical parole violations, our senior citizens. There are people there that are serving less than a year in Rikers. By the nature, it's not a very bad crime. Release those people so we can lessen the congestion, not just for them, but for the people who work there. By the way, our correction officers are the only law enforcement union in this city that's black or brown, primarily black women. They were told that they cannot wear personal protective equipment. There's been a dichotomy and a different tactic, and it went along very much race. And I want to be clear, though, Dahved, this virus does not discriminate socioeconomic status at all. Right. So we're going to lift up every family that's dealing with this pain. But our response and our policies do discriminate. And so there are certain communities that were hit hardest than others. And this is not a time to play a game of who deserves care and who doesn't. Nobody in Rikers or nobody incarcerated in the state was sentenced to die by viral disease. Right. And we did nothing to assist these folks. We did nothing. We had no plan for our homeless population. We had no plan for our nursing homes. So you see the governor looking pretty on TV, but in between those takes, he's making bad decisions, and these are the results. The results we're seeing now are the results of inaction.
Okay. Caribbean Fever 107.5 WBS. We're talking to public advocate Jumaane Williams. He is the only Caribbean American citywide elected. We're going to take a short break and come back. Sir, hold on. Don't move a muscle. 107.5 Caribbean Fever 107.5 WBS. Dahved Levy rocking you. Public advocate Jumaane Williams. Are you still there, sir?
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, from your position and where you stand and where you sit, about stimulus packages now. I want some clear views of what's going to happen on the commercial realm, on the residential realm, and on the mixed-use realm. So let's say this. Let's deal with persons who rent spaces for businesses, guys who rent a space for a barbershop, guys who rent space for a beauty salon, guys who rent space for bars and restaurants and to run their business, but they got to rent. They've been now closed down for 2 months or 3 months. What happens to them? What kind of help can they get?
So right now, most of the stimulus package is coming from the federal government. I got to tell you, it's not what we need. The governor was right on this one. We got short shrift. Places like Nebraska are getting $300,000 per patient. We're getting about $12,000 per patient.
Say that again. Say that again.
Some place like Nebraska is getting $300,000 per patient for assistance. We're getting about $12,000 per patient. And that's because Donald Trump wants to reward his buddies, and he wants to screw people he perceives as non-supporters. New York State is one of those. So he will be that vicious to take away money if you're not voting for him. Yes. But I do want to thank, our local Congress members who are pushing hard for another stimulus package that we hope will come through with real money from New York State to help businesses and help small business as well as large businesses. We know the Republicans are always focused on the big businesses, but the small businesses, the black, brown, immigrant, and Latino businesses, they really need assistance because they're the ones that are most likely to hire other black, brown, and immigrant people. And so they're not really seen right now. So we have to make sure that 100% changes. And the president is doing some crazy things. He removed the inspector general that would oversee the stimulus package to make sure they don't give the money to themselves, all kind of craziness. So there's a lot of craziness happening right now, man. But we got to vote the man out. And before that, everybody has to fill out their census. And I want to link that to the money you're asking about, because not only did we lose our congressional seat from past census we didn't fill out properly, but hospital beds, money for hospital beds are often given through census. I
didn't know that. Say that again. The audience can hear you. I didn't know that. Say that again. Yes,
there is a lot of money that is given for medicine and medical relief, including numbers of hospital beds and things for those hospital beds that are linked to census. And so if we had filled out the census at a better rate 10 years ago, Elmhurst Hospital could have potentially had more hospital beds than it did.
Would that have included ventilators and masks and all these things too?
Well, it would have included beds. It's possible it could have included ventilators. You never know. That's a different stream. Mm-hmm. We just weren't prepared at all for this viral outbreak. But people need to understand with the census, it's kind of something they're not really thinking about. But when they try to send their child to school and it's overcrowded, that's a census. When they're trying to get some additional housing assistance so they can rent, that's the census. The hospital beds, that's the census. That's why everybody listening to Caribbean Fever, whether you're documented, undocumented, your brothers in town or your sisters in town staying with you, if they're living on your sofa or living in your bathtub, you got to include them. My2020census.gov, there's no question about citizenship.
Okay, Mr. Williams, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
The undocumented person who is sitting at home right now listening to us, who has a job to send money back home to take care of their mother, maybe take care of their grandmother and their little brother or sister, and everybody back home is totally dependent on that money. How do you expect them to fill out this census? What kind of guarantee is out there for them that when they fill this census out and they are honest, that it doesn't come back to bite them?
There is the strongest guarantee of privacy we have is probably with the census. The fines and the jail time is insurmountable if anybody ever leaked information. Not only that undocumented person, that person who lives in NYC, nobody is going to know or get this information about where you live or where you are.
So you're saying to me, a powerful man like the president or people who are close to the president cannot get to that information?
No, the laws are very strict. If there's one place that's strict, the census.
Okay.
They're not playing them out of the census. And the punishment for leaking or any kind of information is very severe. So NYC is not coming knocking your door. ICE is not coming knocking your door. Matter of fact, there is no question about citizenship on the census. Nobody. There's nobody going to ask you about census. As a matter of fact, just for Caribbean Fever, you can now add your identity. So you can check black, and then you can put Grenadian American. You can put Bayesian American. You can put Jamaican American, Haitian American. This is the first time we're going to be able to do that because we want to make sure that everybody's counted. Remember, sometimes you used to have to check black. Sometimes people didn't want to do that. They want to put their Caribbean identity there. Right. You now have the ability to do both. So that undocumented person who's sitting there, check black, put whatever American, and that's it. It's not coming back to you. There's no way people are going to find out. But if you don't check that off, you're making life much harder for you and your family back home because when you need to get services in New York City, New York State, it's not going to be there because the census was not filled out. Brooklyn, by the way, had the lowest census turnout in the entire nation 10 years ago.
No, you're kidding me.
The worst in the entire nation. And that's what people are not understanding.
Not the entire state, in the entire nation.
We had the worst turnout in Brooklyn, the worst in the entire country. We were the worst county in the entire country in terms of turnout.
Wow.
We just can't have that.
So I saw Cardi B on a commercial, but I thought that commercial was reaching the Hispanic community. What happened to the commercials for the Caribbean community? What happened to the commercials for the French Caribbean community, Haiti, the Dutch Caribbean, Indo-Caribbean? What happened to all those other people who don't speak Spanish?
We got to push, man. I'm public advocate. I'm doing the job that I was elected to do. We need to push the mayor and the governor to do the job that they were elected to do. I would say I have seen, a great. I've seen a much better push than I've seen in previous years, but we're still below the national average. We got to get above the national average, or we can lose another congressional seat, which means we won't have the proper representation to go back and fight Donald Trump, because we're going to lose a congressional seat. Not because we don't have the people, but we don't have the people filling out the forms. And I just wanted to give the council a shout out, because you're talking about stimulus. The stimulus package coming from the federal government. Of course, they have a big stickler, and they want to make sure they are very focused. And so they don't want to help out anybody who's not a citizen. But the city council, they're working on a basic income package that's going to go to everybody, citizens, non-citizens alike. So I just want to shout them out. They're trying to get money for every individual and every individual's child.
Well, listen, sir, thank you very much for giving me your time. Any closing comments you want to say to our audience?
Yeah, this is Resurrection Sunday, and it's an allegory for me, because you think about what happened on Good Friday to what happened on Sunday, and the message for me is, weeping endures for night, but joy cometh in the morning. So we're going to get through this together on the other side, but we can't forget about the disparity. We have to move forward. Also, please, faith without works is dead. So wash your hands and stay home. Your staying home can save a life.
Okay, man. Caribbean Fever. You know what? Before you go, talking about staying home real quickly. It seems like the more people stay home, the more they're quarantined, and you got some Caribbean islands now where it's just shut down, right? Shut down. But it seems like there's some communities that want to stay on the street. They want to stay, and they're very confrontational with the police when the police try to get them in.
Yeah, you're talking about our Jewish communities that you're trying to bring up?
No, not only that, but I've seen it happen in Newark.
I do see a lot of people out there, and not just the Jewish community, unfortunately. Right. Although I have seen some weddings and some funerals, and unfortunately some of them are still out praying, and we have to make sure that they stay inside, because not only harms their community, but harms all of us. But in our community, man, I've seen people playing basketball in the park, playing soccer, just hanging out. And so every community has to heed this warning. I think it's getting a little bit better because people are understanding the direness of it. Mm-hmm. They weren't before, and that's because our governor did not give clear messages. You can't tell people they have to pause, but you leave the playgrounds and the parks open. Mm-hmm. You can't tell people pause, but people are building construction, luxury houses, and the liquor stores are open. And so there was a muddled message from the very beginning, and that message was slow to act. And there just has to be accountability for that. And it angers me to see it happen. And again, the primary people who are hit the hardest are Black and brown communities, as usual. So we had, and I have to say it, some cisgender straight white men on the city level, on the state level, on the federal level, and the same communities failed that always failed. And we just have to remember that when it comes to Election Day. We have to remember that these folks are saying right now, oh, we don't understand what happened. We have to study it and see what happened. We know damn well what happened. People fell asleep at the wheel.
Okay, man. Thank you very much. Have a good night, sir.
All right, peace. You too.
Okay, Caribbean Fever 107.5 WBL. Let's go.